Welcome back to another video. Today we are investigating one of the greatest mysteries in biblical history. For more than 2500 years, people have searched for it. Some believe it is hidden beneath the ancient stones of Jerusalem. Others believe it was carried away to a distant land. Some traditions even claim that it still exists today. But historians face one unanswered question. What happened to the Ark of the Covenant? To understand the mystery, we must return to one of the darkest moments in biblical history. The year is 586 BC. Jerusalem is under siege. The armies of Babylon have surrounded the city. Inside the walls stands Solomon's temple, the center of Israel's worship for almost 4 centuries. But the city cannot resist. The Babylonian army breaks through. Jerusalem falls. The temple is destroyed. Its treasures are taken away. The biblical writers describe the disaster in remarkable detail. They mention the gold and silver vessels, the bronze pillars, the sacred furnishings. Almost every important object connected with the temple is recorded. But one object is missing: the Ark of the Covenant, the most sacred symbol of ancient Israel. The object that represented God's covenant with His people. After the destruction of Jerusalem, the Ark disappears from history. No ancient inscription tells us where it went. No archaeological discovery has recovered it. No surviving document gives us a final answer. And that silence created one of history's greatest mysteries. But before we search for the lost Ark, we need to understand why it mattered. According to the book of Exodus, the Ark was created after Israel entered into covenant with God at Mount Sinai. It was a wooden chest covered with gold. Inside were placed the tablets of the covenant, the 10 Commandments. Above it stood 2 golden cherubim representing the throne of God's presence. But the Ark was not a magical object. It was not a weapon. It was not a box that allowed humans to control God. The biblical writers present a much deeper idea. The Ark represented God's covenantal relationship with Israel. It symbolized God's presence among His people. But God Himself could never be reduced to an object. This becomes clear in one of the most dramatic stories about the Ark. During a battle against the Philistines, Israel suffered defeat. Desperate for victory, the Israelites brought the Ark into the battlefield. They believed that its presence would guarantee success. But the result was shocking. Israel was defeated, and the Ark was captured. Why does the Bible preserve such a painful story? Because it teaches an important lesson. The Ark was holy, but it was not a magical object. God could not be controlled through symbols or rituals. So, what happened after Jerusalem fell? Historians have examined several possibilities. The first possibility is the simplest. The Ark was destroyed during the Babylonian conquest. Ancient cities were often burned, temples were looted, sacred objects disappeared. A wooden chest covered with gold could easily have been destroyed or dismantled. Many scholars consider this a realistic explanation. But there is a question. Why do the biblical writers never say that the ark was destroyed? The silence remains. Another possibility is that the ark was hidden before the Babylonians entered Jerusalem. One later Jewish tradition, recorded in the second book of Maccabees, says that the prophet Jeremiah concealed the ark in a cave on Mount Nebo. It is a fascinating tradition, but historians must distinguish between tradition and historical evidence. The account was written centuries after the Babylonian destruction. It tells us what later communities believed, but it cannot prove what actually happened. Perhaps the most famous claim comes from Ethiopia. According to Ethiopian Orthodox tradition, the ark was brought to Aksum and remains there today. For Ethiopian Christians, this tradition is deeply meaningful. It forms part of a living religious heritage. But from the perspective of historical investigation, evidence remains uncertain. The object has never been independently examined, and the written sources describing its journey are much later than the events themselves. So, the claim remains a tradition, not a confirmed historical discovery. A final possibility is that the Babylonia itself became the final destination of the ark. Perhaps the Babylonians took the ark along with other temple treasures. Perhaps it disappeared somewhere within the Babylonian Empire. This cannot be completely ruled out, but despite extensive archaeological discoveries in Mesopotamia, no evidence has ever been found. So, after examining the evidence, what can we honestly conclude? First, the Ark of the Covenant was unquestionably one of the most important symbols of ancient Israel's faith. Second, its fate after the destruction of Jerusalem remains unknown. Every proposed location is a possibility, but none has been proven. And third, perhaps the greatest insight comes not from finding the ark, but from understanding what happened after it disappeared. When Jewish people returned from exile and rebuilt the temple, something extraordinary happened. The temple existed, worship continued, but the ark was gone. The Holy of Holies stood empty, yet faith survived. The disappearance of the ark transformed the way people understood God's presence. The exile taught Israel that God was not confined to one object, not limited to one building, not controlled by human hands. The greatest lesson of the ark may not be about a treasure lost in history. It may be about a truth that continues beyond history. The ark represented a covenant, a relationship, a presence greater than any physical object. So, what happened to the Ark of the Covenant? The honest historical answer is we do not know. But perhaps that uncertainty is part of the mystery, because the ark disappeared, yet the faith it represented continued. The golden chest was lost, but the meaning remained. And after thousands of years, the search continues, not only for an ancient object, but for the deeper questions it raises. How does humanity encounter the divine? How does faith survive when symbols disappear? And how do we find meaning in mysteries that history leaves behind? Thank you for joining me on this journey. If you appreciate exploring the Bible through history, archaeology, and scholarship, I invite you to subscribe and join me for future investigations. Until next time, keep asking questions because the search for truth begins with curiosity. Thank you.